Byron Donalds joining us on Daybreak 92.5 Fox News. Our usual Thursday visit continues. Just a little bit late, but no worries. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, Drew. How you doing?
Okay. I know you've been busy in the past 48, 72 hours. I don't know. You've been kind of busy. There's a lot going on. Where do we start? First, well, let me start with this. I've never, ever called a lawyer to move boxes for me or to move things out of an office or out of a home. As a matter of fact, it would probably be very expensive and not something I would recommend. But apparently the president of the United States moving classified materials around and ending up in offices that are his. What's the discussion right now up there on Capitol Hill, and what are people saying with all of this? I mean, is it the usual partisanship? I mean, that's just where we are. It's listen, you can't do it, but we can kind of a talk. What about that? Your thoughts?
Yeah, basically, the Democrats are ignoring a story, or basically saying, "Oh, he took them back and to the National Archives." So, why are you worried about this? Meanwhile, they're like, "Oh, President Trump was fighting the National Archives to keep them," and stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's really dumb. It's kind of a ridiculous argument. Look, here's the truth. Joe Biden had classified documents. We know this. Now there apparently there's been 2 tranches of classified documents have been found in 2 separate places. He was not president of the United States when he was in possession of these documents. He was the vice president when he took them. He was still the vice president, former vice president, when he had them. Vice presidents are like anybody else. They have no ability to declassify information. Presidents are different. And so that's why there's not really much of a hubbub about Obama's documents that he does have. Or they know they care so much about Donald Trump's. And Bill Clinton had them. But presidents can declassify information. That is the singular constitutional difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. So our questions are simple. Why did somebody who doesn't have the ability to declassify documents have classified documents in their possession? What is the audit issue we're having with classified information on another level? That's something completely different. And then number 3, why was there no raid of the Penn Center, the Penn Biden Center, or some of these other places that had classified documents? Why weren't they raided by the FBI? They sure did raid Mar-a-Lago for documents that they already knew was there, and that the National Archives were discussing with President Trump's lawyers about those documents. They didn't need to raid President Trump's home, but they did it anyway. Those are the major questions. But it always goes back to, my last question. Why did it take 6 years to realize that Joe Biden had classified documents, which, by the way, are a higher level of classification than the documents that Donald Trump had? Let's be clear.
All right.
Higher level of classification. Why did the vice president have them? Why is it that nobody knew this for 6 years?
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess if there's one place to go with this, I know we can move on, but if there's one place to go with this, and if you don't want to play the whole hypocrisy game, well, it's okay for this person, it's not okay for that person, you could even just stay with this one issue, which would be what Just the News was reporting on. Long before the documents were found, the Penn Biden Center was the focus of a watchdog complaint because the parent university received large sums of money, estimated to be $54 million in the time period when Biden joined the group, and it had the specter of Chinese donors that helped to fund nearly $1 million in personal pay Biden received from the think tank. So maybe that's part of what we can look into. What's the Penn Biden Center? What was and to have classified documents sitting in that office with that kind of connection, there's something we can ask. I think that's a fair assessment.
We are going to be asking those questions. I was actually talking with the chairman of Oversight, Jamie Comer. We're going to get into all of this because that's the key thing. I'm not even speculating. The Chinese, some element, I don't know, through a business or whatever, they were funding the Penn Biden Center. Joe Biden was taking a salary from the Penn Biden Center when he was not president of the United States. He was out of office for 4 years.
Yeah.
So he was taking a salary. Why was the Chinese company or the Chinese themselves funding that center? Why was Joe Biden taking a salary?
Yep. Good question.
Is there a quid pro quo going on? Oh, by the way, energy policy in the United States that Joe Biden wants, heavily based on electric batteries and solar panels. Well, guess what, folks? And I've said this multiple times. There's another member of the Biden family that actually was a part of a deal to sell a cobalt mine to a Chinese company. And Joe Biden loves electric batteries, and to use electric batteries on the scale he wants, you need a lot of cobalt, which the Chinese mine. I don't know. That sounds pretty fishy to me, but we're going to have to ask those questions.
Yeah, good. Well, listen, as long as we go after gas stoves, because that's what's evil right now.
Yes.
We don't even have to go there. But anyway.
That dang natural gas.
I'll tell you what, that is some nasty stuff right there. It's and then you find out the people that did the study and the connections to this climate change activist, and it just gets, as you can all imagine. All right, so let's talk about what is it's been pretty obvious in the past 24 hours based on a lot of the headlines and a lot of what has been viral. Your visit with Joy Reid. Now, let me just say this right out of the gate. That's what we appreciate about you and what we've said, and we've talked about personally many, many, many times for many years, going to the places that people don't expect you to go, because the only way they're going to know about you and about your message and about conservatism is to show up, because all Joy Reid's going to do is bash you and bash other Republicans and bash conservatism. And if you don't end up there, there's no way that the audience will ever know anything about what is the truth and the facts. And so you made that attempt, albeit with Joy Reid, one that was getting quite the pushback. And I wanted to get into some of what you didn't get a chance to finish saying about even Social Security and the like. But maybe for everybody listening here in Southwest Florida, so what was that like for you? What was it like being there with Joy Reid on MSNBC?
I mean, personally, it was fun. I
know you like that.
I don't have a problem getting into heavy debates and arguments. I think it's healthy. Mm-hmm. I think the country needs to do a lot more of that. We're becoming very siloed in terms of our political viewpoints and even our personal viewpoints and beliefs. And I just think that's the wrong way for America to go. I think we need to have those tough conversations at all times. So I had fun with it. Now, I knew she was going to, interrupt and do all that stuff, and I was prepared to deal with it. And so, my goal was to just stay focused on policy and not get into the personal stuff, not do like a yelling back and forth. That would have just been terrible, because the goal has never changed for me. It's about taking conservatism everywhere. Yep. And there's a lot of people who've never really heard a conservative actually explain policy and talk it through. Yeah. And to whatever extent I could, I wanted to do that.
Yeah. No, and I think no, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. was not a good look. It was. You always imagine when you get on these programs what it's going to be like when you lay out certain issues, what the host is going to say and how they're going to respond. And instead of having something in front of her to respond, to say, no, it isn't, when talking about the S&P and the insolvency and the issues of Social Security, which, by the way, maybe I can give you a moment to clearly say what you were trying to say then that you didn't get the chance to say, because she kept saying, no, it's not, when she is clearly devoid of the facts. Was a remarkable, the issue of the S&P and Social Security, which is a very real thing for her. First of all, to bring up something that I haven't heard anybody talk about in a very, very long time, and attaching Social Security to the markets and to the S&P. I mean, that came out of nowhere. Like that's a thing. I don't know if people are still talking about it, but the facts are the facts. What you were trying to say, maybe let everybody know what you were trying to communicate about the S&P and Social Security.
Well, it first starts with the fact that Social Security is going insolvent. Yeah. Everybody knows it. OMB has said it. CBO has said it. The Office of Management and Budget, the Congressional Budget Office, the Congressional Research Service, CRS, they've all said the same thing. It's going insolvent around 2035. There are members who study this issue in far more detail. David Schweikert of Arizona is the member of Congress who knows the most about this program. He says it's now anywhere from 2033 to 2035 because of the lack of people working during COVID periods. So it's going insolvent. That is going to happen. If it goes insolvent, there will be an automatic benefit cut of 25% across the board. Automatic benefit cut. That's in the law with Social Security. So you have to look at it. Now, the point I was making was, listen, if you go back to the Bush plan, which was private accounts for those who wanted to leave Social Security, which is The retirees would still get their benefits. That was the Bush plan. But it would allow younger Americans to actually move a portion of their payroll tax into private accounts. And the point I made to her was, if you look at the returns of the S&P 500 since 2006, that takes into account the 2008 recession. It takes into account the drop in the markets. I believe it was 2015. There was another one in 2018. There's been ups and downs in the market the entire time. But if you take all of that into account, the returns of the S&P 500 are around 9.2 to 9.5% year over year, somewhere around a 300% return from 2006 until today. Okay? That's a way better return than what people get from the Social Security Trust Fund. It's not even close. Mm-hmm. And so if you're going to try to find a way to make the program solvent for retirees and for people who want to stay in the program, but at the same time give people an ability to make their own decisions and have it be a program that's not going to run us into more debt as a nation, you have to reform it. Yep. So she goes, but you want to privatize it. I said, I didn't say that. She said, that's what you want to do. I said, no, I don't. I said, I do. I want to reform the program. Right. Because you have to make the necessary changes. So she's in complete denial. She doesn't even think it's going to be insolvent. Right. So that was one. We talked about the military. She wouldn't let me talk about the fact that, yes, recruitment is down in the United States military and how we have to look at what DOD is doing. Because if it is causing recruitment numbers to be significantly lower than what they have been in the past, how is the military going to be prepared to fight a war if necessary? So we have to look at that. What I tried to get to was talking about what our new chairman of Homeland, Mark Green, who's a conservative, great man, what he was talking about with Alejandro Mayorkas, wanting to have him be impeached. Alejandro Mayorkas has lied to Congress about the security of the southern border. He's flat out lied. He's very Clintonian in his explanation because everything is about the definition of what is. And he has lied to Congress. Yeah. So why do we have a Secretary of Homeland Security who is sitting there lying under oath when we know he's not doing his job? So these are the things that we have to get to the bottom of. But she didn't really want to do that. She wanted to just interrupt, and I don't know. Yeah, it was fun though.
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, you were smiling the whole time. You look, but I knew that was going to be. I mean, we all knew that it was going to be like that. But again, how. It's so important that we enter that space. It's so important that we are willing to do that because it's the only way that certain individuals are going to be able to ever hear another side, to hear and then to be able to sit down and say, okay, well, let me hear what's being said. And then if you're going to disagree, let's have the data and the science and the reasoning behind it, as opposed to somebody just telling you in a vacuum what it is and move along and not even getting the opportunity. And so, I thought it was awesome. And so it's an important thing. And then, again, there are some things that hopefully there'll be an opportunity for people to go and search you out, and search to see more and want to learn more about you and what you stand for. And then ultimately others as well. And so, I wonder.
Quick point on that.
Yeah.
This was actually last week. I think it was last Saturday. Mm-hmm. I was flying back home because obviously, Kevin McCarthy became speaker at about 12:30 in the morning Saturday. Right. And so it was Saturday afternoon. I'm flying back and I'm walking down the street. I'm just in regular clothes. A young black guy walks up to me. This is outside of the Longworth building. He walks up to me, he was like, hey, are you Congressman Donalds? I'm like, yeah. And he was just like, listen, I was kind of watching you on the news because I think the week before I was doing a lot of CNN and some NBC and other stuff like that. And he was like, I saw you on the news and I was like, man, you actually said something really interesting that I hadn't heard. And so he was like, I went and looked you up. And he's like, I got to tell you, I'm a Democrat, but I actually really appreciate the things that you say. The reason I bring that up is because as Republicans and as conservatives, if we don't engage in other spaces that are not comfortable, where we're not going to walk into a room and everybody gives standing ovations, if we don't go into areas where people are skeptical or don't agree with us, there's a lot of people who really just don't know about politics that you're not going to be able to convince and win to our side. Yeah. So, like, I'm fine with it. My colleagues actually kind of like it. So I told them, I was like, well, I'm going to bring you next time. And they're like, wait, what? I'm like, no, I'm bringing you with me. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
But we
that's
to do it.
And that's life. Listen, I hate to be like, make a big 30,000 foot view of and get, outside of politics here for just a second. But that's life. Life is about, look, I don't know your next door neighbor, people down the street, you sometimes you're in a bubble just in your own life, and you don't want to talk to somebody because you think and you have an assumption about them until you sit down and you talk to them and you're like, this might be one of the most interesting people I've ever met. This might be one of the best conversations I've ever had. We have so much in common, and I never knew, and I would have never known if I didn't take the moment to sit down and actually listen and hear what they have to say. And that's a life lesson. I think it's an important thing.
Yeah. Hey, real quick. So the thing about Joy Reid,
go.
We argued like even after the cameras went off, we were still going.
Is that right?
It went on for like another 2 minutes, and I was like, look, you got a show to do, and I got to go. So
no, you should have kept going. You should have made her late. You should have made her late for the program. That would have been even better. Make her late. Come on.
I told her I was like, I'll come back on.
Yep.
I have no problem doing that.
Yeah.
We can talk about all kind of stuff. But what I won't do is get into the superficial,
right,
petty stuff of politics, because that's superficial nonsense. It distracts from the real issues going on in the country. And we got to get serious. We got to get real.
Yeah. All right, Congressman Byron Donalds joining us on Daybreak, 92.5 Fox News. All right, my friend, I appreciate it. We'll see you soon, okay?
All right. See you, Drew.
Thanks.